Why is nobody here yet? I whispered, clutching the edge of the marble counter in our brand new apartment. The city lights sparkled beyond the glass walls, the view breathtaking, exactly the kind of place I once dreamed of. My husband, Ethan, glanced at his watch. They said they'd come. Maybe traffic. His voice was calm, but I caught the flicker of disappointment in his eyes. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. An hour passed. 2. No one showed. My phone lit up with messages. Polite excuses, vague apologies, ridiculous reasons. So sorry, can't make it. Next time, promise. I smiled bitterly, my chest heavy. Next time, I muttered under my breath. There never is a next time. The next morning, I scrolled through social media, and there it was, my entire family, dressed up, laughing, wine glasses raised, celebrating at my cousin Olivia's housewarming. My throat tightened. They hadn't been busy. They'd just chosen her over me. Ethan set his coffee cup down. You okay? They lied, I said flatly, turning the screen toward him. Every single one of them. For a long moment, silence filled the room. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkening. Then he leaned back, a slow smile creeping across his face. Not cruel, but sharp. Dangerous. Let them laugh tonight, he said. Tomorrow they'll choke on their own pride. My breath hitched. I knew what he meant. We had been waiting to reveal something that could turn their smug faces pale in an instant. And suddenly, I no longer felt small or abandoned. I felt powerful. Ethan brushed his hand over mine. Don't say a word. Just watch, I nodded. My silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was strategy. The following evening, Olivia's living room buzzed with laughter. Champagne glasses clinked, camera flashes lit the room, and the scent of catered food lingered in the air. My family had gathered in full force, surrounding her like she was royalty. I walked in hand with Ethan, dressed in a sleek black dress that hugged my frame. Heads turned. Conversations paused. My father's eyes narrowed immediately. Lauren? Margaret's voice carried that fake surprise she used like perfume. Oh, you came. I tilted my head, smiling faintly. Of course. Family comes first, right? Jason snickered from the couch, legs sprawled out as if he owned the place. Didn't think you'd show your face after yesterday. Big empty apartment must have been depressing. His words were a knife, but I refused to flinch. It wasn't empty, I said smoothly, squeezing Ethan's hand. We had everything we needed. Ethan's gaze swept across the room like he was studying them, measuring every smirk, every dismissive glance. His calm presence next to me steadied my spine. Olivia, wrapped in a silk gown, came forward with her trademark smug grin. Sorry, Lauren. We just thought, your place wasn't much of a priority. Besides, mine is bigger. People should gather where there's space. The room erupted in polite chuckles, the kind that burn more than outright insults. My mother shook her head, adding, Honey, don't take it personal. Olivia's home is more appropriate for entertaining. That word, appropriate, cut deeper than I expected. I clenched my jaw, but Ethan gave a slight squeeze of my fingers, warning me, wait. So I did. I sat quietly through their boasts, their digs, their rehearsed laughter. They talked about Olivia's marble countertops like they were sacred relics, about her prime location, about how lucky she was to be renting from such a prestigious building. That's when Ethan stood. Since everyone is so interested in this building, he said casually, lifting his glass, there's something you should know. The room stilled. My family leaned in, curiosity sparking like dry wood catching fire. What now? Richard asked with impatience. Some little announcement? Ethan smiled, not arrogant, just certain. As of this morning, the deed to this entire building has been transferred. Every lease, every apartment, every square inch of it now belongs to my wife, Lauren Hayes. The words detonated like a bomb. Olivia's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered against the floor. Jason choked on his drink, sputtering. My mother's mouth fell open, frozen mid-breath. I rose slowly, letting my silence slice deeper than any speech could. Then I met Olivia's stunned eyes. "So technically," I said softly, my voice cutting through the shocked murmurs, "this party is being thrown in my building. My tenants." The weight of those two words, my tenants, hung in the air like smoke. Jason jumped to his feet, face red. "This has to be a joke." "No way, It's not a joke," Ethan interrupted firmly, pulling out a folder from his coat. He placed it on the coffee table with deliberate calm. "Signed and notarized. Effective immediately." Richard's voice shook with disbelief. You let this happen?" He barked at Ethan. Ethan didn't blink. "I didn't let it happen. I made it happen. Lauren isn't your afterthought, your second choice, or your shadow. She's the owner now. You might want to remember that before the rent increase hits." A murmur rippled through the room, half outrage, half awe. I looked at my father, his face pale, lips pressed thin. For years, he had dismissed me, ignored my successes, only showing pride when it suited him. Tonight, his silence was louder than his insults ever were. I walked toward Olivia, stopping just inches from her. She was trembling, her arrogance stripped away, mascara smudging as she blinked too fast. "You didn't invite me," I said quietly, but each word landed like a strike. "You thought I was small, unworthy, invisible. But you forgot something. Walls remember who they belong to. And these?" I gestured around her grand living room. "These walls belong to me." The tension was suffocating. No one laughed now. No one dared. Olivia's lips quivered. You can't just—" "Oh, I can." I cut her off, my tone sharp but calm. "And I will." Ethan placed his arm around my waist, grounding me, strengthening me. His voice carried finality as he added, "Consider this the last party here without Lauren's approval." The silence that followed was deafening. Every eye was on me, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't beneath them. I was above them. I turned. Chin high and with Ethan by my side, we walked out, leaving shattered pride and broken illusions behind us. The moment Ethan and I left Olivia's apartment, I felt their stares burning into my back like flames. The night air outside was cool, but my chest was hot, heavy with everything I hadn't said. By the time we reached the street, I could already hear footsteps behind us. "Lauren!" My mother's voice cut through the night. Margaret hurried down the stairs, her heels clicking sharply. Her face was tight with panic. "What were you thinking? Announcing something like that? Embarrassing us all?" I turned slowly, every ounce of me steady now. "Embarrassing you?" I repeated. "You did that yourself when you lied to me. When you chose Olivia over me." She pressed her lips together, faltering for a second. "We didn't want to hurt your feelings." "Stop," I said coldly. "You didn't think I mattered enough to invite. You thought I'd sit in my corner forever, grateful for scraps. But those days are gone." Before she could respond, my father's voice thundered from behind her. Richard appeared, Jason and Emily trailing like shadows. His face was red with fury. "You've humiliated this family," he spat. "Parading wealth, rubbing it in Olivia's face. What kind of daughter are you?" Ethan stepped forward, calm but unyielding. "The kind of daughter who doesn't need your approval anymore. Maybe you should ask yourself what kind of parents you've been," Jason sneered. "Oh, please. Lauren couldn't afford that building on her own. It's obvious Ethan bought it for her, dressed it up like she actually earned something." I turned to him, a bitter laugh escaping my throat. "And what have you earned, Jason? Besides Dad's applause for buying a flashy car with money you didn't even work for?" His smirk faltered. Emily finally chimed in, arms crossed. "You've always been jealous, Lauren. That's why you're doing this. You couldn't stand Olivia getting attention, so you had to steal the spotlight." "Steal?" My voice rose, sharp and cutting. "No, Emily, I didn't steal anything. I built it. I worked nights while you all slept. I sacrificed while you mocked me. And I fought for every inch of ground I stand on. The difference is, my husband stood with me when none of you did. My words hung in the air, heavy, undeniable." Richard's voice dropped low, almost trembling with restrained anger. "You think owning some building makes you powerful? You're still my daughter, And in this family, respect comes from bloodline, not deeds. I stepped closer, staring into his eyes. For years, I'd shrunk under his voice. Tonight, I didn't. Respect isn't given because of blood, I said, voice unwavering. Respect is earned, and you lost mine a long time ago. His jaw clenched, fists trembling at his sides, but he had no reply. Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder, steady, reassuring. We're done here, Lauren. You don't owe them another word. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. I looked back at Olivia's window, laughter now replaced with silence inside. You all wanted to erase me, I said, voice echoing across the street. But the thing about shadows, you can't erase them when they're cast larger than you, Jason muttered under his breath. You'll regret this. I smiled faintly, a razor's edge of calm. No, you will! Ethan opened the car door and I slid in. As the engine started, I watched their faces one last time. My mother's pale with fear, my father's rigid with rage, Jason's burning with envy, Emily's tight with spite. They weren't a family anymore. They were strangers standing in the ruins of their own pride. Inside the car, Ethan reached over, lacing his fingers with mine. His voice was low, steady. You handled that better than I could have imagined. I didn't break this time, I whispered, almost to myself. Not anymore, he squeezed my hand. That's the difference. They wanted you small. But you're not small. You never were. The city blurred past the windows, but I barely saw it. My mind replayed their shocked faces, their silence. For the first time, I wasn't the forgotten one. I was the one they couldn't ignore, and deep down I knew this was only the beginning. 2 weeks later, word had spread. My name wasn't just whispered in my family's living rooms anymore. It was spoken in boardrooms, across tenants' meetings, in the building's elevators. My family, who once dismissed me, now lived in the shadow of what they couldn't deny. I was in control, but control doesn't erase wounds. That Saturday, I walked into the building's main lobby, heels clicking against polished marble, Ethan beside me. Tenants nodded politely, some even stopped to shake my hand. I smiled, professional, steady, but when I spotted my parents waiting near the reception desk, the air turned heavy. Richard's face was carved in stone. Margaret clutched her purse like it was a shield. Olivia stood just behind them, her confidence gone, her eyes darting nervously. Jason and Emily lingered near the back, avoiding my gaze. Lauren? Richard began, voice softer than I'd ever heard it. We need to talk. I crossed my arms, keeping my chin high. About what? How you lied to me? How you humiliated me? Or how you suddenly remember my name now that you need something? Margaret stepped forward, her tone pleading. We didn't know Ethan was going to... Stop blaming Ethan, I cut her off sharply. He gave me the tools. I made the decision. This building, this ownership, this moment, it's mine. And none of you had the decency to believe I could be anything more than your family's punchline. Jason finally snapped. So what? You're going to hold this over us forever? Raise the rent? Kick us out? Ethan's voice slid into the conversation like steel wrapped in velvet. Funny you mention rent, Jason, because your lease is tied to this building. And unless Lauren approves... He let the words dangle, lethal in their simplicity. Jason paled. Emily looked like she wanted to disappear. Olivia's voice cracked. Please, Lauren, don't punish me like this. I turned to her, eyes hard. You threw me away, Olivia. You laughed when I wasn't invited, smirked when my parents called you more appropriate, more worthy. And now you're standing in a lobby that belongs to me. That isn't punishment, it's balance. Her lips trembled, no words left to defend herself. Richard exhaled, defeated. His voice was quieter this time. What do you want from us? I paused, letting the silence stretch until it pressed against their chests. I don't want anything from you, I said finally. That's the point. I don't need you anymore. I built my life without your help, and now I'm living in the proof of it. Margaret's eyes glistened, her voice breaking. You're still our daughter. I shook my head. Daughters aren't decorations for family pride. You had your chance to stand with me, and you chose to turn away. I've learned to stop begging for love that comes with conditions. For a moment, no one spoke. The hum of the lobby filled the void, echoing louder than their words ever could. Then I stepped closer, lowering my voice but sharpening each word. You want respect? Start by respecting me. Not because I own this building, but because I earned it while you dismissed me. If you can't do that, then walk away. Forever. The weight of my ultimatum hung heavy. Jason shifted uncomfortably. Emily bit her lip. Olivia wiped at her eyes. Richard stood frozen, pride warring with regret. But I didn't wait for an answer. I turned to Ethan, who slipped his arm around my waist, warm and steady. Together, we walked toward the elevator. Each step was liberation, every breath lighter than the last. Inside the elevator, Ethan pressed the button for the top floor. The doors slid shut, cutting off the sight of my family for the last time that night. You were incredible, he murmured, brushing his thumb across my hand. I just told the truth, I whispered back. For once, they had to hear it. The elevator doors opened into our penthouse, the city skyline spilling before us, endless and glittering. I stepped out, letting the glow wash over me. This wasn't just an apartment. It wasn't just a building. It was proof that silence can be strength, proof that rejection can spark fire, proof that the forgotten daughter could rise higher than anyone expected. Ethan wrapped his arms around me from behind, his voice steady and proud. They'll never see you as small again. I leaned into him, eyes locked on the horizon. They don't have to. I don't live for their eyes anymore. And as the city lights flickered like stars, I realized the truth. Revenge wasn't about destroying them. It was about finally standing tall without them. For the first time, I wasn't chasing their acceptance. For the first time, I was free.